What's the best way to go about disarming one of these things?
The way you don't die, sir. That was good. Oh, boy.
Katheryn, what did you like about the idea when Mark contacted you? What made you think, boy, this is something I might be interested in?
Well, I suppose, like a member of the general public, I felt that the war was pretty abstract, and I thought it was somewhat underreported, and I didn't really understand IED, EOD, how does it work? There's no real clear engagement front and rear, and so when he came back and told me these stories, and these bomb techs arguably have the most dangerous job in the world, yet it's a volunteer military, they're there by choice. They have an extraordinarily high IQ. That's how they're invited into the EOD team to begin with. And I thought it would be a really interesting entry point to begin to comment on the film, on the conflict.
If you had the actors, they slept in the same tent. They didn't have like their own.
No, they had hotel rooms, but
What actually?
we had no trailers. There are no trailers in the Middle East. I mean, there are two in Lebanon, but they were being used on a television show. So we created these. No, I mean, these are. You don't think when there were no trailers, but we made it very clear to the cast going over that the amenity situation was going to be somewhat rigorous.
That's not totally true, that we made it clear to the cast going over it.
Yeah.
Actually, just in all seriousness, these things happen as a result of budget and all of that, but I think for the cast, not to speak for them, but I've spoken about this very subject with them, for somebody like Brian Garrity to be in the same tent for 2 days, like changing with somebody like Ray Fiennes, who would normally be kind of in his own trailer, and for them to have that kind of forced proximity, and for everybody to feel like, you know, nobody is more important than anybody else, and we're all kind of thrown into this together. I think you know, it lent like an indelible kind of sense of teamwork,
Yeah.
which
Kind of a
is
barracks-
one of the
a barracks
which is
mentality.
sort of one of the subjects and themes of the film anyway. So it's just funny how these things that you don't plan can actually end up being really helpful.
One of the things I wanted you to talk about, because it was really fascinating, was the way you shot it, that it was shot apparently 4 cameras working simultaneously.
I wanted to kind of vacillate between the macro and the micro. So there'd be cameras maybe up on roofs or, you know, at the end of the 300-meter perimeter, and then there'd be ones right like close to the actor's face or right nestled next to the Humvee as they would come around. And always in motion. The cameras are always in motion, and the cast was always in motion. So it created a very live and elastic atmosphere.
I was talking about this at dinner with, you know, friends of mine who'd seen it, and we were talking about the episodic nature of it, that they go out again and again and again. How early did that come to you as the form you wanted to go with that way?
You know, that's just kind of the way it is in Iraq. I mean, that's and also in Afghanistan. That's just sort of what life is like over there. It's not obviously a war of taking territory. It doesn't tend to play out over like, you know, a single battle. It's not really a war of body counts like in the way it was during the Vietnam War. It's a war of driving around looking for IEDs day after day, month after month, year after year. And so the structure came out of an attempt to capture that without you know, imposing, you know, like a storyline that would somehow feel inauthentic.
Yeah. The tension is so exceptional. How do you do that? I mean, I guess that's a $64 question, but I just wonder what goes through your mind while you're putting this together.
It all starts with material. It has to start with the material. And I remember when Mark came back from Iraq and he was telling me these stories of what these men do, I mean, I was tense just listening to it. And so I think as a filmmaker, I realized early on that because the material was so strong and because just simply the, you know, beginning to unpack what this profession is, I could kind of, again, be repertorial and presentational about it and not, you know, kind of, so to speak, step aside and let it reveal itself. It's inherently dramatic. So I think by not embellishing it and not, I don't know, artificially infusing it with more tension, I think it allows the truth of their profession, and the script allows itself to be,
It just
I don't
comes
know,
out, it's just
scrutinized.
there. Yeah.
It's there.
I have a guy I hire for that. He's the tension guy.
The
He's
tension
really-
guy.
Yeah, he's good.
Do you have any last words?
No, this has been a real pleasure, and thank you
Well,
for hosting us.
thank you both, and thank you for the film.
Thank you, thank you.